Good day, my dear students. So today we are going to discuss about the good life. Okay, so here are our learning outcomes or objectives for today. Okay, so at the end of the discussion, the students should be able to one, explain the concept of the good life as posited by Aristotle. Number two, define the good life in their own words. And number three, examine shared concerns that make up the good life to produce innovative and creative solutions to contemporary issues guided by ethical standards. Okay, so let's start. Everyone is in pursuit of the good life. We do certain things because we want to achieve a life which will make us happy and content. By studying and working hard, we try to attain this goal not only for ourselves but also for our loved ones and the rest of humanity. So people's definition of the good life may vary and differ in particulars. In general, however, we recognize universal truths that cut across the differences. Okay, so we start. Nicomachean Ethics and Modern Concepts. Okay, Aristotle was an important ancient Greek philosopher whose work spans from natural philosophy to logic and political theory, attempted to explain what the good is. His definition may be useful in our pursuit of the truth in Nicomachean Ethics. So Aristotle stated that all human activities aim at some good. Every art and humanity, or human should say, inquiry, and similarly, every action and pursuit is thought to aim at some good. And for this reason, the good has been rightly declared that at which all things aim. Okay, so everyone is moving towards the good. Thus, completing one's studies, training for sport, or taking a rest is a good. The good is expressed and manifested in many various ways for different persons and circumstances. Okay? The good life, however, is more than these countless expressions of what is good. It is characterized by happiness that springs from living and doing well. Okay, so everyone is moving towards the good, and I also made mention to you that the good life, however, is more than this countless expression of what it is good. Okay, so let's continue. But the many and cultivated call it happiness and suppose that living well and doing well are same as being happy. Okay, so the ancient Greeks called this concept of living well and doing well as eudaimonia. Okay, the word came from the Greek word eu, meaning good, and daimon, meaning spirit. Okay, so taken together, it generally refers to the good life, which is marked by happiness and excellence. Okay, it is a flourishing life filled with meaningful endeavors that empower the human person to be the best version of himself or herself. Okay, like for example, if one student, then he or she acts to be the best version of a student by studying well and even fulfilling the demands of school. If one is an athlete, then he or she strives to be the best version of an athlete by training hard and as well as joining and winning in sports competitions. Okay? Furthermore, according to Aristotle, happiness is the ultimate end of human action. Okay, let me repeat that part. According to Aristotle, happiness is the ultimate end of human action. It is what or it is that which people pursue for its own sake. Financial stability for one's family, the power, the power achieved from winning the elections, or the harmony and peace as a reward for taking care of the environment. All these and more are pursued for the sake of happiness. Okay? Now, such a thing as happiness above all else is held to be, for this we choose always for itself and never for the sake of something else, but honor, pleasure, reason, and every virtue we choose instead for themselves, but we choose them also for the sake of our own happiness, judging that by means of them we shall be happy. So, happiness, on the other hand, no one chooses for anything other than itself. That's according to Nicomachean Ethics 2 verse 7. Okay, so happiness defines a good life. This happiness, however, is not the kind that comes from sensate pleasure or instant satisfaction. It is that which comes from living a life of a virtue, a life of excellence manifested from the personal to the global scale. Okay, let me repeat that part. It is that which comes from living a life of virtue, a life of excellence manifested from the personal to the global scale. Okay, we continue. It is the activities that express the virtue that control happiness and the contrary activities that controls its contrary. Okay, that's according to Nicomachean Ethics 1 verse 10. Okay, so for example, making sure that one avoids sugary and processed foods to keep healthy is an activity that expresses virtue. Okay, the resulting health adds to one's well-being and happiness. Okay, another example is taking care of the environment through proper waste management, which results in a clean environment and adds to people well-being and happiness. So these virtuous actions require discipline and practice. On the other hand, activities contrary to virtue are those which do not result in happiness. Okay? Like for example, the lack of discipline in eating healthful food eventually makes one sick. Okay? Next is the lack of concern for the environment that destroys the earth we live in. Okay, thus, disregard for virtuous actions, especially for the sake of convenience and gratification, does not contribute to happiness. The good life is marked by happiness brought about virtues human or yeah brought about by virtuous human actions and decisions that affect the individual self and the greater community. Okay, so I repeat that part. The good life is marked by happiness brought about by virtuous human actions and the decisions that affect the individual self and the greater community. Okay, it is characterized by a life of flourishing of oneself and of others. The good life does not happen in a bubble, okay? In a bubble where only one person is flourishing. So others have to be in it too. Okay? So we'll continue. Yeah. Okay, so it characterized by a life flourishing of oneself and of others. Okay? And virtue virtue plays a significant role in the living and attainment of the good life. It is the constant practice of the good no matter how difficult the circumstances may be. Okay, virtue is the excellence of character that empowers one to do and be good. Such virtue is cultivated with habit and discipline, as it is not a one-time deed, okay, but a constant and consistent series of action. So everyone has the capacity within himself or herself to be good, but he or she also has to be disciplined to make a habit of exercising the good. Okay, so virtue then being of two kinds, according to Aristotle. Okay, that is your intellectual and moral virtue. Okay, so for intellectual virtue, in the main O's, it's birth and growth to teaching, for which the reason it requires experience and time, while moral virtue comes about as a result of habit. Okay, that's according to Nicomachean Ethics 2 verse 1. Okay, so in connection with this, the onward progress of science and technology is also the movement towards the good life. Science and technology are one of the highest expressions of human faculties. They allow us to thrive and flourish in life if we so desire it. Science and technology may also corrupt a person, but grounding oneself in virtue will help him or her steer clear of danger. So this is the part one of the good life. So we will have a part two of good life in the next discussion. Okay.